The government has openly admitted to spraying chemicals in the air to either dim the sun or just test some biological weapons on us. They use silver iodide to promote rainfall, which is, I would argue, weather modification. Then they also spray reflective particles in the sky so that the sun's rays aren't as hot on the earth. And then my favorite is they use bacteria stimulants to see how quickly a bacteria in the sky can spread. Just studying how quickly we can get sick. Not actually trying to make us sick, though, right? It was just to study how quickly we could all get sick. You know. Anyways, this is my driver. Why do you need to study it? Why do you need... we're doing it because what if another country comes in and does that to us? No, our own country is doing that to us. Just... So illogical. So illogical. Whatever.
Nah, this is about to get crazy. You guys remember how there used to be asylums like for crazy people back in the days? Check this out.
What if the insane asylums from the 1800s weren't built for insane people at all? Think about it. People always say, if there was a reset, wouldn't everyone have known? But what if the people who did know were labeled insane? In the 1800s, all across America and Canada, massive insane asylums started appearing. Huge buildings, massive stone structures, some of the biggest buildings in the entire country at the time. But here's the strange part. Many of these cities were just being founded. So where did all of these insane people come from? And how did they know there would be so many of them that they built entire castle-like complexes to hold them? Look at the Central Lunatic Asylum in Ohio. It looks more like a fortress than a hospital. Look at the Columbia State Hospital. At one point, it was the largest building in the United States. And then there's St. Vincent Hospital in St. Louis. They say it was built in 1 year. 1 year in the 1800s. With that architecture. So you have to ask yourself, were these buildings really made to treat the insane? Or were they made to silence people who remembered a world that no longer existed?
What if the people who they considered crazy were never crazy at all? And that's why they stopped building these asylums, because now everybody's already brainwashed. It's like these people were probably never crazy to begin with. They were just exposing the truth, and that's why they kept building these massive asylums in the 1800s. They didn't want the truth getting out. And then once the truth got out and everybody that actually knew the truth was dead by getting old, that's when they stopped building these asylums. What the fuck, bro?
A shelf and poured something that looked like cooking oil into a small diesel tractor. The engine turned over on the first try, no hesitation, no cough, no black smoke. I stood there for 15 minutes waiting for it to stall. It never did. And when I asked him where he bought the fuel, he looked at me like I had asked the dumbest question in Lancaster County. He pointed to a field behind the barn. I grew it, he said. That was the moment everything changed for me. The plant is hemp, industrial hemp, cannabis sativa. And I need to be clear about something right now, because the confusion between hemp and marijuana was manufactured on purpose. Industrial hemp contains less than 0.3% THC. That is the psychoactive compound. You could smoke an entire bale of industrial hemp and feel nothing but a sore throat. The 2018 Farm Bill made it federally legal to grow, process, transport, and sell industrial hemp anywhere in the United States. It is as legal as corn, as legal as soybeans, as legal as wheat. But for 80 years before that federal bill, hemp was treated the same as a narcotic. And the reason had absolutely nothing to do with anyone getting high. It had everything to do with fuel and money. And for men who had more of both than anyone else in America, let me start with what one plant actually does. Because once you understand this, the rest of the story will make you angry. Hemp seeds contain roughly 30 to 35% oil by weight. That oil can be extracted with a simple cold press, the same kind of press people use for olive oil or sunflower oil. Once you have the oil, it can be converted into biodiesel through a basic chemical process called transesterification. You mix the hemp seed oil with methanol and a small amount of lye, which acts as a catalyst. The mixture reacts. It separates into two layers. The top layer is raw biodiesel. The bottom layer is glycerin, which you can use to make soap. You wash the biodiesel with water, let it dry, and it is ready to pour into any diesel engine ever manufactured. Not a modified engine, not a special engine, any diesel engine. Because the diesel engine was never designed to run on petroleum in the first place, Rudolf Diesel built his engine in the 1890s in Germany. He filed his patent on the 28th of February 1892. His paper was titled Theory and Construction of a Rational Heat Engine to Replace the Steam Engine. He called it a compression ignition engine. The fuel he envisioned was plant oil. Off a shelf and poured something that looked.
Isabella's lease is void. You have no right to foreclose on Amorica. The Reconquista is global, Emperor.
By this sale of the kingdom, we shall bleach the memory of your empire and hide your ancient technology beneath the veil of our new history.
The sky opens, the kings of fire rule. Cities of glass and gold fall into ash.
Behold the power of the high priests of Anu turned against their own kind.
The Inquisition is already at the gates, and they are coming to bleach the memory of every Moor in Al Maghreb. By the time they are through, your new world will be nothing but a necropolis.
We were of the same vine. We were family. How could you agree to the sale of the kingdom and let these Roman inquisitors bleach our very memory?
We have brought you out of the caves of the north to give you the gift of civilization. You shall serve as our janissaries.
In the sale of the Moorish kingdom, I have traded your flesh for the ancient technology of the underworld. With these free energy orbs, we shall establish a new jurisdiction of the West and rule as God.
Behold the New York Island. Here, the giants of the Longhouse once walked, and our Delaware Moorish brethren.
Of Jerusalem in the west was but the first stone. Now we sail for Haiti to extinguish the last of the French Moors and seize the ancient technology of the islands.
The time of the traditional Moor is at an end. By this sale of the kingdom, we shall bleach their names from the record and take the jurisdiction of the west.
Emperor Montezuma, the last Moorish king to hold the sun throne of the west.
We're family.
Florida was never a colony, but the Iberian Peninsula of the West.
We have brought you out of the caves of the north to give you the gift of civilization. You shall serve as our janissaries and Mamelukes, the secret protectors of our jurisdiction. For a limited season, our Asiatic empire shall recede, and these recessive Mamelukes and janissaries shall serve as our jailers.
We have traded your flesh for the ancient technology of the underworld. With these free energy orbs, we shall establish a new jurisdiction of the West and rule as gods.
By this sale of the kingdom, we shall bleach the memory of your empire.
The Jesuit inquisitors and their Roman masters have come to bleach our memory and seize our ancient technology. But behold, the kingdom of the West has joined our banner. You return to the Armorican estates as a dog of the papacy. Your queen Isabella bought a lease from Essegal, but she attempts a foreclosure she has no right to hold.
They are destroying everything.
Do not weep, my love. There is a prophecy of noble Drew Ali. A son shall be born to resurrect the empire in the West and bring light back to the world.
With these free energy orbs, we shall forge a new jurisdiction of the West and rule as God.
We shall erase their names from the record and claim the jurisdiction of the West.
In the shadows of a forgotten empire, the sky itself became the weapon. One king would ignite the heavens.
You are witnessing the high science of falconry, animal husbandry, and communion with nature that defined the Lemurian and Atlantean epochs. In the vast empire of Tartary, a global Asiatic power, the owl was the symbol of the original Moorish people, while the griffin stood as the official symbol of the empire itself. The teachings of Ptahhotep reveals that the owl is the literal Egyptian hieroglyph for the term Moor, signifying that the Moors are the original high priests of Anu who ruled Tartary. Drake's OVO symbol is actually a representation of the old Moors in Tartary, the original flag of your people's Eastern Empire. The sacred bird also represents the Taurus field, the geometric foundation of reality that allows for silent flight and unseen power, which is why the symbol of the owl is linked to knowledge and etymological truth hidden in plain sight. The massive owl statue at the Bohemian Grove is actually an earlier Moorish structure, part of a legacy where we once possessed many owl statues to signify the global rule of the Moors. Today, oligarchs and secretive groups at Bohemian Grove use the owl to reverse the frequency. They reverse the frequency to perform rituals to what they believe is Moloch, when in reality, they are worshipping the original Moorish priesthood, the very black man they seek to supplant. The high science falconry of giant birds and griffins in the historical record were more than mythology.
This legacy is rooted in the land of Kalas, California, which was known as the Land of the Griffins and ruled by Queen Khalifa when California was still an island, and the Sultan of America possessed animals and birds so massive that modern elephants seemed insignificant by comparison. Hollywood truth bombs us by showing ancient Moorish sciences of dominion over these fowls of the air through the Bowery King in John Wick, the Moorish information broker that sees and knows everything through his network of birds, representing the true Lord sitting above the high table. Simultaneously, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes mocks our ancient animal husbandry and falconry. They depict apes practicing falconry and training birds to kill. This is a calculated mockery of truth intended to reinforce the lie that original people are apes, when we never descended from no goddamn apes. This gnosis is even embedded in the occult context of Harry Potter, where the owl serves as a nocturnal herald of initiation and a sentinel of secret wisdom. It represents the ability to perceive information that remains hidden from the uninitiated. These disclosures serve to keep us in willful amnesia, preventing us from realizing we are the titans and lords who once held absolute dominion over the beasts of the field and the heavens.
Este vídeo es viral ahora mismo.
Who do you want, Dada or Pop?
Mama.
No, Mama. Do you want Dada or Pop?
Se trata del cantante Shane McAnally y su pareja, Hombre. La pareja obtuvo un bebé por gestación subrogada y presentaron este vídeo en redes como algo divertido.
Do you want Dada? You want Pop? No way, Jose.
Pero la cosa no salió como esperaban. Miles de personas no encontramos nada divertido en esto.
There is no Mama. I'm so sorry. You have Dada and you have Pop. Two choices. No Mama. No.
Cuando se invierte el orden de los derechos, todo se descuadra. Ningún adulto tiene derecho a adoptar un bebé, porque los bebés no están para hacer realidad los deseos de ningún adulto. Los bebés son personas y son ellos los que tienen derecho de recibir el cariño y cuidado de su padre y su madre. Si el padre y madre biológicos no están, tiene el derecho a ser cuidado en un entorno lo más parecido a ese, es decir, una pareja estable formada por un hombre y una mujer. Si este orden lo inviertes, todo se desmorona. Puedes acabar instrumentalizando a mujeres para que, previo pago, te presten su vientre, en el que durante 9 meses estará creciendo un ser humano que nada más nacer será quitado de sus brazos y entregado a los brazos de los pagadores. Esto es convertir a la mujer en un instrumento y al bebé en mercancía. Y si esa mercancía no cumple con tus expectativas, quizá hasta podrás devolverla, como si de un paquete defectuoso se tratara. Así lo hizo Margarita Robles, ministra de Defensa de España. Cuando la niña filipina que adoptó no cumplió con sus expectativas, la devolvió. Por eso es importantísimo recuperar el auténtico valor de la vida humana y el orden natural de los derechos. De lo contrario, todo se desmorona.
Alright, I'm going to prove to you that those clouds out there are chemtrails, and they are literally creating the weather. So if you look at this screenshot, you can clearly tell it's 1:52, and it's supposed to be cloudy at 3 p.m. Now I'm going to show you a few more clips going to 3 p.m. and after, so you can literally watch it in real time. Them literally creating clouds and covering the sun. Because I'm not lying. I hope y'all realize they literally make the weather. That's how they know the weather. It's almost 2 p.m. right now, and at 3 p.m. for the next few hours, it's supposed to be cloudy. Now just watch. They're not predicting it, they just make it. And here's the proof. It's right in front of your eyes. Please wake up. These are not clouds. They are chemtrails. They make you dumb. They make you sick. They block out the sun, which is the most necessary nutrient on the planet.
Ça, c'est moi. Et là, c'est moi aussi. Non, je fais pas partie de l'élite, mais très jeune j'étais photographe pour des magazines de luxe. Et quand tu vas au même genre d'événement, tu recroises toujours les mêmes figures. J'ai bossé plus de 15 ans dans l'image, la mode, la musique. Au début je voulais juste faire ma place, utiliser le système pour injecter ma vision et créer librement. Mais partout je voyais les mêmes codes revenir en boucle. J'étais aux premières loges, là où la décadence se fabrique avant de se diffuser partout. Des années à filmer leurs balles de fausse charité, leurs sourires crispés, ça m'a transformé en détecteur de névrose. Je tournais des clips pour des chanteurs pop sans le moindre talent. Ce que certains appellent style, moi j'y voyais des symptômes. Derrière la caméra, je ne voyais plus des gens, mais des schémas, des comportements conditionnés, une prostitution spirituelle et physique pour garder leur place dans le cirque. Ton art, ton corps, ton esprit, tout doit être à vendre. J'essayais de mettre en scène la débauche, de caricaturer cette machine infernale, mais l'intégrité ne se finance pas. J'ai vite compris que j'avais aucune chance de m'intégrer sans me trahir. Les labels ne veulent pas éveiller, ils veulent du formaté pour maintenir la masse sous contrôle. Et au final, c'est le manque de talent et d'intégrité qui est récompensé. Mais il était impossible de me coller une étiquette, et ça m'a coûté cher. J'ai bossé jour et nuit sur des projets qui n'ont jamais vu le jour. J'ai été ruiné plusieurs fois, des années d'insomnie. Une prise de conscience, ce n'est pas un voyage paisible, c'est une purge longue, brutale et violente. Voilà pourquoi mon ton est anxiogène, parce que je ne joue plus. C'est mon paradoxe. J'ai navigué au cœur du système tout en restant extérieur à son emprise. Quand on voit vraiment le cirque, on ne peut plus faire semblant. C'est ça, la vraie rapture. La sortie silencieuse et radicale de la matrice. La fausse pandémie a été mon point de non-retour. À partir de là, je ne pouvais plus rejouer un rôle. Le système ne voulait pas de moi, et tant mieux. Ce rejet m'a forcé à tout remettre en question et à commencer le vrai travail. Mettre des mots là où il n'y en avait pas. Parce qu'on vit dans un bruit constant, trop d'informations, trop de contradictions, au point que plus rien n'est clair. Et pour ceux qui parlent de complot parce que je sors des cases, c'est justement en naviguant entre les cases que j'ai pu faire les liens. Reality Revolt, c'est pas une niche, c'est un combat personnel. C'est mon vécu qui m'a poussé à tout démonter et exposer cette opération de contrôle mental de masse.
Once you realize that most events on the world stage are psyops, you stop emotionally investing in them. So what is a psyop? A psychological operation is a military operation that conveys specific information to an audience in order to influence their objective reasoning, emotional state, and essentially obtain a certain agenda. Typically, they're used alongside a false flag in order to implement more draconian measures that people would otherwise object to. This is where the term problem, reaction, solution comes into play. The government creates a problem, for example, a school shooting or a wildfire. Everyone emotionally reacts, making them easier to manipulate, and then the government comes in with their solution, which was their goal in the first place. They just had to manipulate you by creating a situation that was so dire you felt you had no choice but to accept their resolution. Some examples of psychological operations and false flags include 9/11, which is a staged terrorist attack to justify a war in the Middle East and the erosion of our privacy through the Patriot Act. The Hamas attack in October, which was a staged attack meant to garner support for Israel's genocide in Palestine. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump. If they wanted him gone, he would be. This was a staged event created to make Trump look like he was opposing the bad guys so much that they wanted to take him out.
Drain the swamp, 5D chess.
QAnon, the fringe right-wing group that regularly dropped information mixing the truth with lies to get people to sit on their ass and outsource their power to a savior. The 2017 Las Vegas shooting, another staged attack with a narrative that doesn't add up. This one was used to push a ban on bump stocks. The Charlie Kirk assassination. This one blew up everywhere and threw everyone down a rabbit hole of Israel assassinating its opposition. But the real players at the top want you focused on the Jews, not them. The fires in Hawaii. We all know they use direct energy weapons, but they'll tell you it was climate change because they want to lock you in your house, feed you bugs, and convince you to buy their electric vehicles. Now, this doesn't mean that real people aren't being harmed during a false flag attack. The people in power have no problem sacrificing the lives of the innocent to obtain their objectives. So whenever you see an event plastered all over the news and social media, pause before you react. It could be a state-sanctioned attempt at using your empathy and compassion to convince you to give up more of your rights.
Jews died at Auschwitz, less than 20,000 in all the satellite camps, including Auschwitz, and they died not of gassing, there was not a single gas chamber in all of National Socialist-dominated Europe, because the killing method of executing whether criminal spies, traitors, saboteurs, whatever, in Europe, in every Gentile country in Europe, never ever historically was gas. The only nation that ever had this fetish of gas chambers, which is the most complicated, idiotic, and expensive way of killing people, was the United States.
Have you ever stopped and guessed what was actually going on with all of these insane asylums that mysteriously popped up all over the United States? Now, apparently a lot of these buildings were constructed in like a year, which doesn't even make sense for the time period. By 1875, there were over 71 insane asylums, with at least one in every single state in the United States. And it was supposed to just be for the mentally ill. But that term was so broad that disagreeing with your husband, not speaking well enough English, being a Native American, or being an African American was good enough to be thrown into one of these insane asylums. And once you were in there, you couldn't leave. The living conditions were horrible. People were strapped down to metal pipes in parts of the building, constrained in straitjackets. They were starved. They were defecating and urinating on themselves. The hallways were filled. These places were crowded. Not only that, but at the same time that all of this was happening in the insane asylums, there were over 200,000 children that were brought all over the United States through trains called orphan trains. These kids had no parents, no ancestry here, but they were mysteriously transported all across the United States. The question is why? With all of the mass immigration that was being encouraged into the United States, on top of kids being transported all over the country, and then tens of thousands of people being committed to insane asylums, it makes you wonder what was really happening. My theory is that these places, these buildings, were founded, and there was some sort of population reset, and the people that remained of the old world had to be gotten rid of, so that the new world could be brought into fruition. And that's why they had all of the orphans being brought all over the country to repopulate. I made this video entirely for entertainment purposes only. In a world full of sheeple who blindly obey orders, you will always be seen as the crazy person. And that's okay. But here's the thing, a lot of people are so unaware of what's going on because they have been chemically dumbed down by the poison being sprayed in the skies, the poison in the food, the heavy metals in the water. If you want to detox these heavy metals and decalcify your pineal gland so that you can tap into your divine intuition, then I suggest you take Chak Shilajit capsules. They're very easy to consume, and they have been shown to bind to heavy metals so that you can actually detox them through the body by either sweating or urinating. Comment info to find out more.
Of age. At that time, my whole family is wiped out.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the Holocaust is big business because Germany so far has given the Jews, I think, at least $200 billion. So it's big business. And some of you are still getting $1,000 a month. And a lot of people don't know this. And then people don't realize who brought the slaves to America. They were Jewish ships.
Wait a minute. That's a whole nother thing. Let's take a break, because the issue that we're talking about today is whether or not there's a Holocaust. We'll talk about slavery, who brought them here later. We'll back up
Sorry, but did you know that there's a book from the CIA that literally tells you how to heal your body with your own consciousness? Yeah, I didn't either, and I just found it, so I'm going to tell you how to find it. Google Intermediate Gateway Workbook. It's going to be the first link that pops up. When the document opens, you're going to get a 21-page PDF, and it's going to look like this. This was literally made in 1977, so I've known about this forever. Definitely read the affirmations because they are very eye-opening. It literally says, first line, I am more than my physical body, telling us that we are so much more powerful than we even think. And the second one is, I open this channel of communication with those only with whose knowledge, wisdom, development, and experience are equal or greater than mine. They're literally talking to guides. This goes into so many different practices that you can do to help heal your own body. It literally color codes different parts of your body that you can send energy to rebalance. It's absolutely amazing, but I want to show you page 14 because it goes to these daily tools. We can get one for restful sleep to remember, reducing pain signals, reducing emotional charge the body for great speed and strength, and so on and so forth. The specific pain signal one, I've used this so many times, but basically it's focusing on an area that has pain and repeating the number 55515. And when you do this, the pain signals will slowly reduce until they're non-existent and not important. Even talk about putting a protection bubble around your energy field. This is literally something I scream from the rooftops. They just call it a resonant energy balloon. I always think it's so funny that when these CIA documents come out, do they just like sit in a room and like laugh because they're like pulling some joke on us that, well, media and everything has made woo-woo into the occult and something terrible and awful and just something to be feared and evil. But really, they're bringing out documents saying exactly what that community is saying, but they know people are not going to believe it because it'll be like too woo-woo, but you're too smart for that. You're not going to do that. You're going to go get this document. You're going to apply these things to your life, and you're going to realize how freaking powerful you are and that you can heal your own body, because we can. And guess what? The second that you realize you can heal yourself, they can't make money off of you. So let's stick it to these motherfuckers.
They are gatekeeping breath holding. When you hold your breath for 90 seconds, your body thinks it's dying and responds by activating an ancient survival pathway, hypoxic inducible factor 1. This activates stem cells in your blood and bone marrow, triggers EPO, which is the same hormone Lance Armstrong was injecting during the Tour de France. You also get a 556% increase in growth hormone from a single 90-second breath hold. Growth hormone burns fat, builds lean muscle, repairs tissue, and boosts testosterone. It also triggers VEGF, which creates new blood vessels in your body, improving oxygen flow to every single organ, including your testes, which will improve your testosterone level.